For 8 long years, a humble waitress worked double shifts at a small diner. No one knew her secret. Every night, she quietly packed leftover food and carried it to a struggling poor family living in a tiny, broken home at the edge of town. She never asked for thanks, never told anyone, and never expected anything in return. To her, it was simply the right thing to do. The waitress, Emily, was barely surviving herself. Her wages were low, and life was not easy. Yet whenever she saw the hungry children of that poor family, her heart refused to turn away. She saved a part of her own meal, skipped her own comforts, and even went without a winter coat just to make sure the family had warm food to eat. Year after year, she watched those children grow healthier, stronger and happier. No one at the diner knew about Emily's kindness. They only saw her as just a waitress. But after 8 years, things changed. The poor family suddenly disappeared, without a note, without goodbye. Emily searched, asked neighbors, even walked through nearby streets, but they were gone. She felt heartbroken, wondering if they were safe, or if all her sacrifices had been in vain. Life returned to silence. For 12 long years, Emily carried the memory of those children in her heart, never knowing what became of them. Then one quiet evening, as Emily was cleaning up after her late shift at the diner, exhaustion weighed heavily on her shoulders. Her tiny apartment smelled faintly of old coffee and fried food she had brought home from work. She moved slowly, wiping the counter, humming softly to herself, unaware that her life was about to change forever. Suddenly, the low, steady growl of an engine broke the silence of the night. It wasn't the usual sound of an old pickup or a neighbor's rusty car. It was smooth, powerful, expensive. The headlights of a sleek black SUV lit up her narrow driveway, and Emily's heart skipped a beat. Who would come to see her at this hour? Nervously, she set the cloth aside, wiped her trembling hands on her apron, and tiptoed to the window. Peeking through the curtain, she saw the SUV door swing open. A tall young man stepped out, dressed in a perfectly fitted suit, his shoes gleaming under the dim streetlight. He looked confident, successful, someone who belonged in a different world entirely. Emily's brow furrowed in confusion. She didn't recognize him at first. But then 2 young women climbed out behind him, their faces lit with nervous smiles. And finally, a little boy, holding the young man's hand, followed carefully. Emily's breath caught in her chest. Her knees grew weak, and she gripped the window frame for support. Tears blurred her vision as realization struck her. These were not strangers. These were the children, the very same poor family she had secretly fed years ago. The little boy who once sat on the diner steps, waiting hungrily for her food, was now a grown man. The thin, shy girls she had wrapped sandwiches for now stood tall, graceful and confident, and here they were, smiling at her, their eyes glistening with tears of gratitude. Her heart pounded as she backed away from the window. She could hardly believe it. For years, she had wondered what had happened to them, where they went, if they survived, if they ever remembered her. And now, as if fate had carried them back, they stood outside her door. There was a gentle knock. Emily hesitated, her hands trembling, before slowly turning the knob. As the door creaked open, the young man stepped forward. His voice was thick with emotion, his eyes brimming with tears as he whispered, "Miss Emily, do you remember us?" Emily's lips quivered, unable to form words. She nodded, and tears rolled freely down her cheeks. "Of course I remember," she finally managed to say. "How could I ever forget?" The young man reached out, taking her frail hands in his strong ones. "For years you fed us when no one else cared. You gave us hope when we had nothing. We never forgot you. We worked hard, we built our lives, and tonight we came back to tell you that everything we are today is because of you." The 2 young women stepped forward, embracing Emily tightly, their sobs muffled against her shoulder. The little boy, who looked no older than 7, stood shyly behind them, clutching a small gift bag. He stepped forward, looked up at Emily with innocent eyes, and said softly, "Daddy told me you saved his life. This is for you." Emily bent down, accepting the bag with shaking hands. Inside was a golden locket with a photo of all of them together. Newly taken, a family portrait with a space left open, as if waiting for her picture to be added. Her heart swelled with emotions she could hardly contain. The young man gestured toward the SUV. "We bought this car for you. But more than that, we've built you a home. A place where you'll never have to work another day, never have to worry again. It's our turn to take care of you, the way you once cared for us." Emily gasped, covering her mouth as tears flowed endlessly. She had never asked for anything, never dreamed of a reward. She had simply acted out of love and compassion, yet in this moment she realized the truth. Kindness never disappears. It travels through time, growing quietly, until one day it returns, greater than anyone could imagine. That night, under the glow of the streetlight, surrounded by the very children she had once saved, Emily felt something she had never known before: the profound joy of seeing love return full circle. With trembling hands, Emily opened the door. The hinges creaked softly, echoing in the quiet night, as if the world itself paused to witness the moment. Standing in the glow of the porch light was the tall young man, his eyes moist with emotion, his face both familiar and transformed. He was no longer the starving little boy she once handed scraps of bread to. He was strong now, confident, dressed in a fine suit that spoke of success. Yet in his eyes, Emily could still see the child she once comforted on cold nights. He stepped forward, voice breaking as he spoke. "We never forgot you. You saved our lives, and now it's our turn to take care of you." His words struck Emily like a wave, flooding her with memories of lonely nights when she walked through snow just to bring warm soup, of days when she skipped her own meals so the children could eat, of times she quietly wiped their tears and whispered, "It will be okay." Behind him, the two young women, once frail girls with hollow cheeks, stood with radiant smiles. One carried a bouquet of fresh lilies, Emily's favorite flower, while the other clutched an envelope tied with a golden ribbon. The little boy, perhaps 7 years old, peeked shyly from behind his father's legs. He held a small box and whispered in a voice so soft it nearly broke Emily's heart, "Daddy told me you're our angel." Emily's knees weakened and she gripped the doorframe for balance. "See, I don't know what to say," she whispered, her throat tightening with tears. "All I ever wanted was to see you safe, to see you smile." The young man gently placed something in her hand, a set of keys, cool and heavy against her trembling palm. "These are yours," he said softly. "This SUV is just the beginning. We've built you a home, Emily, a place where you'll never have to worry about rent, bills, or working long nights again. You gave us your best years, and we want to give you the peace you deserve." Emily gasped, covering her mouth as sobs shook her chest. She looked at the shining keys, then back at the faces of the children she had once carried through storms of hunger and despair. She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No, no, my dears. I never needed anything in return. My joy was watching you survive, watching you grow. That was enough for me." But the young woman with the lilies stepped forward, pressing the flowers gently into Emily's arms. "You don't understand," she said, her voice quivering. "We became who we are because of you. When everyone else turned their backs, you believed in us. You gave us food when we had none. You gave us dignity when the world treated us like nothing. We owe you everything." The little boy finally found his courage, walking up to Emily with his small box. He opened it with care, revealing a delicate golden locket. Inside was a photograph, a new family portrait of the siblings and their children, with an empty space left open for one more picture. The boy looked up with wide eyes. "Grandma Emily," he said innocently, "this space is for you, because you are part of our family forever." At those words, Emily broke down completely, kneeling to embrace the child as her tears soaked his hair. She had spent years thinking her sacrifices were forgotten, that her small acts of kindness had disappeared into the shadows of time. But here, in this moment, she realized that nothing done in love is ever wasted. They led her outside, guiding her gently toward the SUV. Emily's breath caught as she saw the brand-new vehicle gleaming under the streetlight. Parked behind it was another surprise, a large van filled with boxes labeled with her name. Inside were clothes, furniture, and gifts for her new home. She pressed her hands to her chest, overwhelmed, whispering, "This is too much, far too much." The young man shook his head, his voice steady now. "It's not enough, Emily. No car, no house. No gift could ever repay the years you gave us. But this is our promise, that from now on, you will never be alone, never be hungry, never be forgotten." As they drove her to her new home later that night, a beautiful house with warm lights glowing in every window, Emily sat in silence, her hands folded over the locket. For the first time in decades, she wasn't thinking of what she lacked or what she had lost. She was thinking of what she had gained, a family bound not by blood, but by love. And in her heart, Emily understood, a truth she had always believed but never fully seen, that kindness given freely always returns, not in the way we expect, but in ways far greater than we can ever imagine.